In a Kendo match, you must not only aggressively attack your opponent, you must also be ready to defend yourself from attack. Ojiwaza is the name given to techniques which combine parry and counter-attack. This can be accomplished by pushing your opponent's shinai with a sliding upward motion, striking it downward, parrying or dodging it, and then moving in with your counter-attack. Let's study some typical Ojiwaza. Suriage-waza are techniques where you push your opponent's shinai with a sliding upward motion, with the left or right side of your own shinai. You can then counter-attack by taking advantage of his shifting shinai position and unbalanced posture. This is men suriage men. Use the left side of your shinai to force your opponent's shinai upward when he attempts a frontal men strike, then instantly counter-attack at his men. This is another version of men suriage men, this time using the right side of the shinai. Watch the interval and timing of the suriage motion and the way the body shifts. An effective technique is to slide the shinai of your opponent by moving forward in accordance with the timing of his striking motion. This is kote suriage men. You strike the men of your opponent by sliding his shinai away when he attempts a kote strike. Be sure to strike your opponent's men firmly the moment you've parried his kote strike. For suriage, be good at ashi-sabaki, footwork, and do not push your hips backward. Learn to make your suriage simultaneous with your men's striking motion. It's essential that the point of your shinai does not deviate from the median line of the body of your opponent when you do suriage. This is kote suriage kote. Move one step forward with your left foot to shift your body. Do suriage in a small motion and immediately strike at the kote of your opponent. Watch the smooth body movement and the flexible but sharp turn of the hands. This is the secret of suriage-waza. It's also important to strike by facing your opponent squarely. Remember that your opponent's men and kote strikes differ largely in ma and timing. Therefore, the timing of your counterattacks is extremely important. Be sure that the point of your shinai draws a large arc when conducting suriage-waza, so that the sliding action does not become a mere knock. Integrate the sliding and striking actions into a simultaneous motion. This is kaeshi-waza. Induce your opponent to strike you and parry with your shinai. then strike back while his motion leaves him off guard. This is men gaishi migi do. Parry with the left side of your shinai, then strike at the do. Don't draw your shinai when you parry, but turn your hands and point the blade at your target. Men gaishi hidari do. Parry the attack with the right side of your shinai and counter-attack at his left do. Let's look again at men gaishi migi do. Keep your wrist flexible and use the force of your opponent for your counter-attack. Don't parry and counter-attack by standing still. Make it a practice to strike only after you've changed your body position. Don't pull your hands back when striking at the door of your opponent. Strike forward while turning your hands. Always be determined to take the initiative and never move your eyes away from your opponent. This is kote gaishi men. Parry with the left side of your shinai and instantly counter-attack the frontal men of your opponent. Keep your hands flexible. Always naturally parry and counterattack by using the force of your opponent. This is a typical beginner's mistake. The mae is too close, the neck is bent and the upper body unbalanced, resulting in a weak blow at the door. It's also a mistake to release the left hand after striking. This is a bad example in that he parries and counterattacks with his body leaning backward. His door strike is not correct either. Here the upper body is leaning forward when he strikes at the left door of his opponent. This is the correct way of striking. It's important to keep your eyes focused on your opponent right to the last moment and to strike firmly. Uchiotoshi waza, striking downward and counter-attacking while your opponent's off balance. Coordination of the timing is extremely difficult to master. Until you've established the right timing, practice repeatedly to learn the secret of striking downward your opponent's shinai. This is do uchiotoshi men. When your opponent attempts a strike at your right do, shift a step to the left while turning your body to the right. Strike downward on his shinai. Then strike at his men while stepping in with your right foot. When you begin to practice this, do it with a slow and large motion. Gradually speed up to match speed. Do uchiotoshi waza is a typical defensive technique against an attack on your do. The movement is fairly easy, but it's difficult to time it to the movement of your opponent. Therefore, repeated practice is necessary. This is do uchiotoshi men. When your opponent attempts a strike at your right do while stepping backward from tsubazeriai, you strike downward on his shinai by coordinating your footwork and twisting your strike, then strike at his men. Use slow and large motions to begin with, then gradually build up speed. Strike firmly on your opponent's shinai, then strike back at his men without losing balance. This is kote uchiotoshi men. Parry your opponent's kote strike and instantly strike at his men. The secret is to deliver an even sharper strike than your opponent's kote strike, with flexible handwork and quick forward footwork. When you conduct uchiotoshi waza, you must coordinate your strike with the direction and speed of the shinai of your opponent. In this case, the timing of the downward strike on the opponent's shinai is too late. Consequently, he's already been struck. However, if the downward strike is too soon, your elbow and arm will be struck like this. It's therefore essential to strike with a proper ma and timing by ensuring a firm grip and keeping your hands in balance. Nukiwaza is the technique of dodging your opponent's strike and counter-attacking in one movement. There are two ways to conduct nukiwaza. One is to step backward so that your opponent strikes the air instead. The other way is to shift and turn your body so that you can dodge the strike of your opponent. This is men nuki men. Move one step backward while swinging your shinai overhead, then strike your opponent's frontal men by stepping back in. Let's take another look at men nuki men. Move your right foot forward and change your body position. Strike at your opponent's men as you pass each other. Maintain proper footwork and dodge your opponent's strike by shifting your entire body. Repeatedly practice so that dodging and striking are integrated into one motion. Be careful not to use the side of your shinai. It's critical that you strike while dodging. This is the wrong way to do it, attempting to dodge and strike only with the hands without moving the body sufficiently. This is men nuki do. When your opponent attempts a frontal strike, make use of the fact that his arms are fully stretched when you pass each other. Then strike at his right do with the blade of your shinai. The important point to remember when practicing men nuki do is to point the blade of your shinai at the target by turning your hands. And to dodge by moving forward from the hips. Extend your arms fully and strike the moment you step forward diagonally. Maintain speed with the correct footwork and hold your upper body in balance. The essential point here is the correct hasuji no kaeshi, namely striking by pointing the blade of your shinai at the target by turning your hands. Don't try to dodge and counterattack simply by swaying the upper body backward and forward. Using just the hands leads to a weak blow. This is kotenuki men. Dodge while moving backward one step, then strike while stepping back forward. Integrate your movement with proper footwork. Judge the direction and speed of your opponent's shinai and keep an appropriate mai. When you dodge, use not only your hands but your entire body. Swing your shinai swiftly overhead in a large arc. This is kotenuki kote, the second representative form of the Nihon Kendo Gata, which is the basis of this technique. When you begin to practice this technique, start with a slow and large motion to ensure the correct form. Then gradually speed it up. Finally strike with a snap of your wrists as if you and your opponent were to simultaneously strike each other. Maintain good body movement. Determine your opponent's moves. Have the minimum necessary pressure in your hands to give the maximum possible impact to your strike. Men nuki kote. Make as if you're drawing a large arc by throwing your opponent's shinai upward from under, then strike at his kote. Shift your body to dodge and always direct your body squarely at your opponent to strike. Don't immediately draw back your shinai, but keep pressing the target you've struck. If you turn your body like this, your strike is not a valid datotsu, even if it's been correctly delivered. Your nuki waza will fail if your opponent notices you plan to dodge his attack. It's important to have him deliver his strike to the desired direction by either attacking him yourself or inducing him to attack. You must compose yourself mentally to parry your opponent's strike naturally, judging his attack accurately without being deceived by his movements. As with kaeshi waza, you must master the secret of drawing your opponent as close as possible to you and dodge his attack the moment he almost strikes. Practice enables you to create and study methods to win a match. Its real significance is, however, to review what your predecessors have accomplished. The practice of Kendo is therefore not only for the development of advanced techniques and building a strong body, but also for the cultivation of the mind. In the art of Kendo, great importance is placed on the fundamentals, without which you can never become an expert. A minimum of 3 years is needed just to practice striking. Of all the practice methods, kirikaeshi is invaluable for beginners and experts alike. Be sure that your left fist is raised above your head when swinging overhead, and travels no lower or higher than the pit of your stomach when swinging down. Strikes, and make sure that your left fist always passes the median line of your body. Let's review the main elements of Kiken Taichi no Datotsu, striking through full synchronization of the spirit, sword and body. They have frontal men striking from the correct posture, various footwork techniques including fumikomi-ashi, breathing, yells, zanshin, strong physical strength, a vigorous spirit, and so on. This is practice using uchikomi bo. Firmly strike the batons that the instructor holds in his hands. The instructor must check every point of his student's strikes, including whether he maintains zanshin after striking and is instantly prepared for his next strike. Repetition of only strong or mechanical strikes is not enough. It's important to strike firmly, with vigor, stroke by stroke, to develop Datotsu supported by Kiken Taichi. When you're teaching a beginner, first have him strike firmly from a closer position. Then get him to move further away, thereby having him practice from a variety of intervals. This practice method is broadly employed as a supplementary method for uchikomi geiko. By considering the use of these batons, various practice methods can be worked out. Creativity is essential in an instructor. This is uchikomi geiko, practice where the instructor provides his student with opportunities to strike in order to master the fundamental techniques of striking. The motodachi must change the striking opportunities depending on the level of each student's ability. A student must keep striking resolutely with an honest mind by making the best use of the striking opportunities provided by the instructor. He must exercise all the techniques he has learned, including ippon-uchi, continuous striking, body crashes, hikiwaza, and so on. This is kakari geiko, attacking practice. A student must strike in a short period of time using the various shikake waza that he's learned. Keep striking with a large and relaxed motion by using your entire body as long as possible and without worrying whether you'll be struck or the instructor will dodge. Kakari geiko enables you to master various techniques and train your mind and body. The motodachi must have his partner deliver correct strikes without allowing him to do improper or incorrect ones, so that the partner can learn the secret of striking. The motodachi may sometimes parry even good strikes to encourage his partner to deliver even better ones. Kakari geiko is indeed hard practice. It's worth it though. Watch the series of mistakes the student makes. His posture is wrong. He's using ayumi-ashi instead of okuri-ashi and is bouncing. Now he's using tsugi-ashi. finally, he runs too far without adopting zanshin. Most common of all practice methods is gokaku geiko, practice between two kendoists with equal skill and guts, seriously competing for victory by fully utilizing their techniques, maai, body crashes and so on. Even when their skills are unequal, gokaku geiko is possible if they have equal mental strength, paying attention to maai and striking opportunities. This method of practice helps develop the overall techniques of Kendo. Devote yourself with energy and spirit by practicing the datotsu you've learned from the basic principles, making sure your movements and posture always remain in balance. This is indeed a superb men strike achieved by parrying the thrust of the opponent. Such excellent techniques can be developed only through repetition of the fundamentals you have learned. Furthermore, you can polish the fundamentals and develop practical techniques through patient, repeated practice with vigor and devotion. It's also important to practice with a studious mind and systematic planning. Practice too with stronger partners to learn techniques from them, no matter how hard it may be. By recognizing a variety of techniques and practice, we hope you'll pursue the truth that leads to the human moral, thereby cultivating your mind.